Ever looked at an acorn and wondered, could I live off these? You know, like a squirrel, or, well, a less furry, upright squirrel. We see these little powerhouses of nature, packed with potential, and it begs the question, are they just for our bushy-tailed friends, or could humans unlock their nutty secrets too? Think about it. We've explored every corner of the planet, from the deepest oceans to the highest mountains. We've even figured out how to grow food in space. Yet, we often overlook the humble acorn, a food source that sustained many indigenous populations for centuries. Are we missing out on a readily available, nutrient-rich resource right under our feet? Or are we just being smart, leaving the squirrel snacks for the squirrels? Let's dive into the world of acorns, separating the nut from the myth, and figuring out if we, as humans, can actually get acorns. First off, let's acknowledge the elephant in the room, or should I say, the tannin in the acorn. Acorns are notorious for containing tannins, bitter compounds that can be quite unpleasant, and even toxic in large quantities. These tannins are what give acorns that astringent, puckering taste. They're also what makes them a natural defense mechanism for the oak tree, protecting its seeds from being eaten prematurely. So, you can't just pick an acorn off the ground and start munching away. You'd likely regret it, and your taste buds would stage a full-blown revolt. But here's the kicker, these tannins are water-soluble. This means they can be leached out, rendering the acorn edible. How exactly? Well, traditional methods involve shelling the acorns, grinding them into a meal, and then repeatedly soaking them in water, changing the water frequently. This process can take days, even weeks, depending on the type of acorn. Some cultures also used hot water leaching or even boiled the acorns to speed up the process. Think of it like making a really, really bitter cup of tea, and then changing the water over and over again until it's finally palatable. It's a labor-intensive process, no doubt, but the end result is a nutritious and versatile food source. Now, let's talk nutrition. Acorns are surprisingly rich in nutrients. They're a good source of carbohydrates, providing energy. They also contain protein, fiber, and healthy fats. Certain species of acorns are particularly rich in minerals like potassium, phosphorus, and calcium. Imagine a survival scenario. You're lost in the wilderness, and you stumble upon an oak tree. Suddenly, those acorns don't look so unappealing, do they? With the right knowledge and a bit of effort, you could potentially have a sustainable food source. But here's the reality check. Processing acorns is time-consuming. In our modern, fast-paced world, where we can grab a prepackaged meal in minutes, who has the time to dedicate days to leaching acorns? That's likely why they've fallen out of mainstream diets. However, there's a growing interest in foraging and wild foods. As people become more aware of the environmental impact of our food choices, they're looking for sustainable alternatives. Acorns, with their abundance and nutritional value, are starting to regain attention. And it's not just about survival or sustainability. Culinary enthusiasts are also exploring the potential of acorns in modern cuisine. Acorn flour can be used to make bread, pancakes, and even pasta. Acorn meal can be added to soups and stews for a nutty flavor and added nutrition. Roasted acorns can be eaten as a snack, similar to chestnuts. There are even regional variations in acorn preparation and consumption. In Korea, for example, dotoramuk, a jelly made from acorn starch, is a popular dish. Native American tribes, like the Chumash in California, relied heavily on acorns as a staple food, developing sophisticated methods for processing and storing them. But let's get back to the practicalities. Not all acorns are created equal. Different species of oak trees produce acorns with varying levels of tannins. Some species, like the white oak, have relatively low tannin content, making them easier to process. Others, like the live oak, have higher tannin levels and require more extensive leaching. Identifying the right species is crucial. It's also important to harvest acorns at the right time. They're typically ready for harvest in the fall, when they've fallen from the tree and are mature. And then there's storage. Acorns can be stored for long periods if properly dried and shelled. This makes them a valuable food resource in areas where other crops are scarce or seasonal. So, can humans get acorns? The answer is a resounding yes, with a big asterisk. We can get acorns, but it requires knowledge, effort, and a willingness to embrace a food source that's been largely forgotten by modern society. It's about more than just sustenance. It's about reconnecting with nature, understanding the resources around us, and appreciating the ingenuity of those who came before us. It's about recognizing that food doesn't always come in a plastic wrapper. Sometimes, it falls from a tree, waiting to be discovered. It's also a reminder that we often overlook the simple things. We focus on technological advancements and complex solutions, while ignoring the readily available resources that nature provides. Perhaps, instead of looking for the next superfood from some exotic corner of the globe, we should look closer to home, to the humble acorn, and rediscover its potential. Think of the squirrels, diligently storing their winter stash. They know something we seem to have forgotten. They understand the value of these little nuts, their nutritional power, and their potential to sustain life. Maybe it's time we relearn that lesson. Maybe it's time we started looking at acorns with a bit more respect, and a bit less skepticism. Maybe, just maybe, we can get acorns. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.